Is Isaiah 7 about the Messiah? Before one even addresses the question of whether the Alma of Isaiah 7:14 refers to a virgin, one needs to address the question of whether Isaiah 7 is messianic at all. Often Jewish apologists argue that the sign was merely a sign addressing a crisis in the days of King Ahaz, and so it makes no sense to refer the fulfillment of the passage to the distant future. Some Christians have responded by arguing for a double fulfillment, but I'm deeply unsatisfied with solutions such as this. In order to discover whether Isaiah 7 is messianic, we need to ask the question of what the Messiah is. In the Old Testament, the most basic idea about the Messiah is that he is a Judahite and later Davidic king who will redeem the righteous, judge the wicked, and fulfill the covenantal promises sworn to Abraham. The key in understanding Messianic prophecies in the Old Testament is the way they are wrapped into the promises made to the dynasty of David. When you start hearing allusions to the life of David or to David's throne, one needs to ask whether the prophet is speaking of the Messiah. In Isaiah 7:9, Ahaz is told that if he will not be firm in faith, he will not be firm at all. But what is the object of the faith? Is it just an abstract faith that God will do something good for Judah? No, it's much more specific. The faith is faith in the promises that God has made to David. In Isaiah 7:13, Isaiah therefore addresses Ahaz as the house of David. Furthermore, Isaiah's description of Judah's foes calls attention to the contrast with Judah. Take a look at Isaiah 7:6-9. The foes of Judah say, "Let us go up against Judah and terrify it, and let us conquer it for ourselves, and set up the son of Tabeel as king in the midst of it. Thus says Yahweh God, it shall not stand, and it shall not come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Within 65 years Ephraim will be broken to pieces, so that it will no longer be a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all." Two things stand out here. First, the aim of Syria and Israel is to come to Jerusalem and replace the Davidic king, the son of David, with a king from another dynasty, the son of Tabeel. The attack is a direct assault on the promises that God has made to David in 2 Samuel 7. Second, God calls attention to the heads of these nations. Rezin and the son of Remaliah are the heads of these nations, not the Davidic king whom God has sworn covenant faithfulness to. What then about the sign? How could this sign mean anything to Ahaz if it was 7 centuries in the future? The problem emerges out of a fundamental misreading of what the sign is meant to signify. Isaiah has declared to Ahaz that if you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all. Then Ahaz exhibits a lack of faith. He refuses to ask for a sign. The sign given to Ahaz confirms the whole word of Isaiah. It does confirm that God will be faithful to the Davidic dynasty, but it also confirms judgment on the Davidic dynasty, personified in the person of King Ahaz. This becomes evident by a careful reading of the language of the promise. Isaiah 7:14-15. Therefore Yahweh himself will give you a sign. Behold, the Alma shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Immanuel. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. Language of refusing the evil and choosing the good is language that refers to enthronement as king. That's why Solomon in 1 Kings 3 is said to be given wisdom to discern between good and evil. He's given wisdom to render judgments. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is a tree of kingship. Adam's sin was seizing kingship before he was ready for kingship. This language provides further evidence that we're dealing here with a prophecy about the Messiah, the ultimate king from the line of David. Moreover, we're told that the boy will eat curds and honey when he grows up and is enthroned as king. We only then need to ask the question, when will a people be eating curds and honey? God provides an answer in Isaiah 7:16-22. For before the boy knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose 2 kings you dread will be deserted. Yahweh will bring upon you, and upon your people, and upon your father's house, such days as have not come since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, the king of Assyria. In that day the Lord will whistle for the fly that is at the end of the streams of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. And they will all come and settle on the steep ravines, and in the clefts of the rocks, and on the thorn bushes, and on all the pastures. In that day Yahweh will shave with a razor that is hired beyond the river, with the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet, and will sweep away the beard also. In that day a man will keep alive a young cow and 2 sheep, because of the abundance of the milk that they give. He will eat curds, for everyone who is left in the land will eat curds and honey. Ahaz is told that before the boy grows up to be enthroned as king, God will indeed wipe out Israel and Syria. But he's told something more. Before the boy grows up, God's going to kick both Israel and Judah with the king from the line of Judah from the land and resettle it with foreigners. Later in the passage, Isaiah will refer to briars and thorns growing up in their place, and that situation is not remedied until the work of the suffering servant in Isaiah 53 to 55. And 55:13 refers to the briars and thorns being replaced with beautiful flowering shrubs. That ultimately goes back to the curse in Genesis 3, where thorns and thistles grow up for Adam. The sign signifies the delay of the birth of the Messianic seed, not merely the destruction of Israel and Syria. So, with that said, is the woman a virgin? It's interesting to note, first of all, that there's no passage in the Old Testament where Alma is used of a woman who's clearly not a virgin. That's suggestive, but it doesn't prove anything yet. Additionally, the Jewish translators of the Septuagint translated this word as parthenos, or virgin. That's likewise suggestive, but still not decisive. Most suggestive is the fact that shall conceive and bear a son is uniquely a direct quotation from Judges 13, where the birth of Samson is announced to his barren mother. In Isaiah 9:1-6, every passage alludes to a particular judge, so as to present the royal child in 9:6-7 as the summation and the fulfillment of all the judges who provided salvation to Israel. That connection is strengthened by the quotation from Judges 13. It would be bizarre if the sign was not miraculous, because it certainly is in Judges 13. Still, this doesn't prove that the woman is a virgin, only that the birth is miraculous in some manner. Now, I believe that the solution to this problem has been provided by Orthodox scholar Eugen Peniuk, whose doctorate is in Near Eastern languages. He knows his Hebrew, and he knows the rest of these languages. Peniuk argues that Alma is not derived, as usually thought, from the word for young. Instead, it's derived from the word for concealment. When used in the feminine, Alma refers to the concealed woman. That is, a woman after her betrothal, but before her marriage, because a woman before she was married was veiled or concealed. She therefore must be a virgin, because women who were provided as brides but weren't yet married were always virgins in the ancient world. The translators of the Septuagint, as they often do, draw out the implications of biblical symbolism in translation so as to make the text clear to its Gentile readers. The implication, as they well knew, was that this woman is a virgin. This also explains why in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, Mary's virginity is not only called attention to, but the fact that she is betrothed to Joseph but not yet married is also called attention to. The prophecy in Isaiah 7:14 is not merely a prophecy of the virginity of the Messiah's mother, but a prophecy that she will be betrothed but not yet married. So that's Isaiah 7 in a nutshell, and I hope this has been helpful.